You know when people come up to you and they say, "You've got an accent." I say to them, "Well, you've got an accent." You see, the moment I open my mouth, it's pretty clear that I'm not from around these parts. And it's been that way for most of my adult life, as I've gallivanted around the world, having various adventures. But my childhood was very different. My childhood was wonderfully, comfortably, reassuringly adventure-free. The tiny English village that I grew up in had most of its adventures in the Roman years. It's been pretty quiet since then. Being as it's a very small village, there's slim pickings to really find anyone to relate to, I found. Anyone that I could identify with. Most of the people my age went to Wham, and I was more of a Billy Ocean kind of girl. Everyone else was into Judy Blume, and I like to lose myself in the romance of Anne of Green Gables. So my strongest memories of childhood are actually from around the dinner table. My mother, my brother and I would sit there patiently waiting for my dad to get home so we could maintain the family ritual of having dinner together. We would sit around the table in the big country kitchen, the kitchen that was painted a neutral colour, just like every other room in the house was painted. And we would sit and wait for dinner to be served, which was pretty much the same dinner that we had every other night of the week, which was meat and 2 veg. So there'd be pork chops, carrots, boiled potatoes, or sausages, peas, boiled potatoes, or sometimes we had chicken, beans, and mashed potatoes. Always held together with some Bisto gravy. And we would sit and enjoy our family ritual together. And I would sit there and wonder to myself, I wonder if there's anywhere in the world where they don't have meat and 2 veg. So it was a big deal when I left my village, the womb of my village, at the age of 11 to go to big school. I met Emma, and our eyes locked across the room, that instant recognition of fro to fro. 2 girls that had inherited their curls from their fathers, and their mothers had got no idea what to do with them. And we were instant friends. We would spend hours in the playground discussing, I don't know what, but it was terribly important. Connecting, and I felt that at last I'd found my kindred spirit, as Anne of Green Gables would say. I also felt like, with Emma, it's the first time I didn't feel like the oddity in the room. So I was really excited when she invited me back to her house for the first time. I waved goodbye to my brother, who was on the bus going back to our village, and we went off to the train station. And as we got off of the train in her riverside town, I realised that even though we were less than 10 miles from my village, we were a world away. The streets were kind of higgledy-piggledy and unmade. My brother's friend later said that he would divorce his parents if they made him live there. The Victorian houses would lean into the road, and the windows would be full of stickers with messages that I had never heard, like "Ban the bomb" and "Down with Thatcher, Thatcher the milk snatcher." As we turned down into Emma's street, a house seemed to be sort of sliding down the road, only stopped by the concertina of other houses that were next to it. And we went up to her door, her bright green door, and she opened it with her own key into this living room that was a world away from anything that I knew. There were books and paintings all over the walls and all over the walls and little trinkets, and there was even a rug on the wall. The whole place smelt of rose water and musk, and nothing really worked, like the sticky door and the wonky window. And Emma put on a record, the Mini Pops, and we danced around the living room like it wasn't just a Tuesday. And we put on red satin catsuits and prepared ourselves for Halloween in September. And then her stepfather announced the parents' return with his big burly beard and his twinkling eyes by serenading us on his guitar with an Irish folk song. And I remember thinking, how does she even manage to turn up to school every day with all this excitement in her hands? And then her mother walked in with her leopard skin leggings and a statement belt and gold bracelets that would jingle as she talked. And she said, she decreed that it was clearly time for us to have something to eat, and she gestured for Emma and I, just Emma and I, to sit on the sofa. And she handed us a plate, a small plate, with the most random collection of things I'd ever seen. There was a Snickers bar, miniature, still in its wrapper, and a lump of halva, which turned out to be Mediterranean sort of almondy honey cake stuff, and then some cucumber, and a sandwich that was made from homemade bread that was sort of falling apart even while it sat there on the plate. And I thought, well, I'll just go for the thing that looks the most familiar, so I picked up the sandwich, only to find out that it was cheese and jam. And I thought to myself, who in the world would mix sweet and savoury? And it was then that I realised that not only was this dinner, but nothing on this plate went with gravy. I don't know how long it took for me to invite Emma back to our house, and I don't even remember what we did when she was there, but I do remember the whole family and Emma sitting, waiting for Mum to serve us dinner, serving us meat and 2 veg, and thinking to myself, she's going to stop being my friend. She's going to think that we're so dull and conventional. But in fact, she loved it. And what she told me is the thing that she enjoyed about it the most was that there were absolutely no surprises. And it was at that point that I realised that this visit to my house was as much of an adventure for her as mine had been, as it had been for me to visit hers. That visit to Emma's was my first real adventure, and it taught me the importance of having a really strong sense of normal to let you experience something else as being exotic. See, I can only have an accent if it differs from yours.